Right, you guys, what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be pressure testing a cooling system using a pressure tester, and we're also going to be showing you what a refractometer is. We'll do the refractometer first. Refractometer is a tool that allows us to look at the coolant concentration. In particular, what it does is it tells us what kind of antifreeze protection we can expect out of a coolant. So as it deteriorates, it's not going to give us protection, anti-freezing protection nearly down as low as we'd like. So what you do is you have a little kind of scientific little guy, and you can actually, you can't see much inside there, but there's a blue light in there. But I can go ahead and take this radiator cap off and get a drop of the coolant inside there and put it on there. A little more than I got. Okay, put it on there, and it spreads out like that. So you can see the liquid is spread out onto there. And then what I do is I'll look through inside here, and I'll focus this guy. And what it'll do is it will tell me, it has a couple of scales. It has a ethylene glycol, coolant scale, propylene glycol. This one happens to be a propylene glycol. And in propylene glycol, this thing in Fahrenheit is only good down, this coolant's only good to 20 degrees. So that's not very low. So what that's telling us is this coolant um, won't give us very good anti-freeze protection. So it needs to be flushed. And let me do that. This one actually has a head gasket that's leaking slightly. Um, this is more of a scientific method that we're not really going to use so much because we're usually going to change the coolant based on service interval, meaning we're going to change the coolant every 30,000 miles or every other year. Yeah, people have 100,000 mile coolant. I'd highly recommend still changing it at every 2 years at 30,000. But this gives us a little more scientific way if we have a customer that we have to really prove to them that the coolant does deteriorate and doesn't give them the antifreeze protection that they need. Or if we live in a very cold climate and we have to know that it's going to give us the protection that we need, then there's a way that we could do that. So next we're going to pressure test, and pressure testing gives us a method of seeing if the system's holding pressure. And you know that we need pressure on the system because for every 1 psi of pressure, we raise the boiling point 3 degrees Fahrenheit. So average system has 12 to 16 psi. We'll raise the boiling point anywhere from 36 to 48 degrees. But one of the other reasons why we like pressure testing is after we've done a repair on a car, we can verify that all our hose clamps are tight and that we've done everything as we're supposed to. So taking off the radiator cap, in this case I have to put an adapter on that goes on just like the cap did. And I get it on there, and I take my radiator pressure tester, which has a seal up here. We don't need a seal down here because that would just seal coolant in the radiator. We're pressurizing the lower part of the radiator. So we'll go ahead and spin this guy on like this until it stops. This guy needs to be free. If he's up on the ramps like that, that's where it releases pressure. There, it's got pressure applied. So what I'm going to do is try and bring this close enough that you can see the gauge as I pressurize this cooling system. So I'm going to go up and try and get up to 14 or 15 psi. And there I am up at 15 psi. And the gauge is trying to get it to focus on there. There it goes. So we're about 15 psi, and it doesn't really seem to be sinking. It seems to be holding pressure. And so we could leave it here for 5 or 10 minutes and make sure it's holding. What we'll do while we're letting that hold is we'll also look down here and see if we have any leaks. So we're looking underneath the car, and I do not see any coolant leaking or dripping on the floor. I don't see any wet spots up here on the radiator. Down here where the fans are, I don't see. Let me get this thing to focus for a moment. Come on, guy, focus. Sometimes it has trouble focusing. Come on. There it goes. So I can go down in here and look down by the fans. And I probably need to get a flashlight to look carefully, but I can't see any leaks. I don't see any leaks where the hose attaches there, where the hose attaches here, where the hose attaches down there. I could go down underneath with a flashlight and look down where the hose attaches to the bottom of the radiator. I'm looking at these heater hoses down there. I don't see any coolant leaking there or there. And I don't see any coolant leaking at the back where their heater hoses attached to the firewall. And I'll still check this pressure, and it's, oh, maybe it's dropped a pound or two, but not very much. So it looks like it's holding pretty good, and I don't have any leaks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take the tester off. When I go up like this and I release pressure, I should get some coolant spitting out usually. Not so much on this one, I guess, because the coolant level was already a little bit on the low side. Now I'm going to check the cap. I'll do the cap by using this adapter, screwing the cap on. I'm going to wash this in the sink because sometimes you get garbage on the seals, and that artificially makes you think that the cap's bad. So I just washed this off in the sink. There is some garbage on that thing. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this onto this adapter. And then I'm going to take the pressure tester like that. So I've got the pressure tester on that cap. And I'm going to bring this down so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. And I'm going to go ahead and give that some pressure. And this cap is not holding in. It goes up for a moment and it just goes right down. So the cap is leaking. It's not holding pressure. Now, it could be, again, that maybe I need to clean it off a little bit. Yeah, there's some garbage on here. But really, the main thing is this cap has an indent where it's been sealing. And if it'll focus, you might be able to see if it'll get it to focus. You might be able to see that it's the seal. This thing is really indented and worn, so this cap needs to be replaced. In my experience, when I check caps, they frequently need to be replaced every couple of years. The seal gets worn and they just won't hold pressure anymore. So we often change caps. So we looked at the refractometer, which gives us a way of kind of telling us the coolant concentration to know how low a freezing point the coolant's good to. And then secondly, we've looked at pressurizing. The cooling system to see if we could figure out if there's any leaks, etc. What we're going to do next, and I won't do right now, but what I'm going to do next is I'm going to back flush the block on this guy by going down and taking the thermostat out and then hooking up the back flush gun and flushing this block out really, really good. So we'll show you that in another video, but this for now, okay? All right.